My name is Josh Amato. Thank you for coming out tonight. I think this will make an excellent opportunity to highlight the different visions my opponent and I have for Sammamish. It's important that voters hear from the candidates to make informed decisions, and I'd like to thank the Chamber for providing this opportunity. I have been a small business owner since 2013, and I'm proud to employ 5 people. I know what it feels like to deal with onerous regulations, to watch Olympia politicians think of new ways to make it harder to run a business. I understand what it's like when payroll is tight and your own paycheck is skipped to ensure employees get paid, or forego raising your own pay to ensure the hardworking employees who make your business a success receive a well-deserved raise. I believe it's important to have council members who understand what it takes to be a job creator, so your voice is represented at every council meeting, and so you have someone who can go to bat for you with our legislators when they are once again proposing damaging ideas. In addition to being a business owner, I'm a board member for PAWS, the Progressive Animal Welfare Society, Community Service Chair for Sammamish Rotary, and a Planning Commissioner. I moved to Sammamish in 2018 with my wife, and shortly after was appointed to the Planning Commission. I quickly learned just how much Sammamish had changed over the years, and without adequate infrastructure in place, resulting in overcrowded schools and traffic congestion. My wife and I moved here because we wanted to be in a bedroom community, mixed in with the trees and away from the city. As I've been going door to door to talk with voters about the important issues facing Sammamish, it has reaffirmed in me that many others moved here for the same reason. I'm running for city council because I believe the best way to protect Sammamish and ensure it continues to be a place my wife and I and many other members of our community want to live the rest of our lives here is by getting involved myself. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to earn your vote.
Thank you, Josh. Let's go to you.
Hi, thank you for joining us this evening. Gosh, I can't remember the last time I held a mic. I guess that means you guys all know I don't do karaoke. I'm Amy Lamb, and I'm the creative director of Seattle's Museum of History and Industry, also known as MOHI. Last week, when I was going door to door, I met a young couple. They had moved here a year ago from Redmond with their daughter, who has a physical disability. And in our conversation, the mom told me that compared to the playgrounds in Redmond, her daughter couldn't use any of the play structures here in the parks in Sammamish. And as a mom, when I heard that, I thought how incredibly disheartening to hear that her child is being excluded from participating in a basic childhood activity. And that's just playing on the playground with other children. Inclusive design has been a design methodology for over a decade, and this is part of my professional experience. One of the tenets of inclusive design is that if you design for someone with a disability, you improve the life of everyone. A classic example of this is a sidewalk curb cut. These ramps were initially designed for people in wheelchairs, but they also benefit children riding bikes, senior citizens, and people that may have a temporary injury such as a broken leg. Inclusive design should be a part of everything we build because we will all have some form of disability as we age. And I tell this story because this is truly at the heart of why I'm running for city council, and that is to propose new ideas and even ideas that have been around for a really long time, such as inclusive design. I believe that diversity allows for more innovative solutions and better outcomes, and Sammamish needs that to succeed in the future. Thank you.
First question has to do with the Sammamish mission statement. So I'm going to read the Sammamish mission statement first, and then I'll ask some questions so that we can react. Sammamish is a vibrant veteran community blessed with a well-preserved natural environment, a family-friendly, kid-safe culture, and unrivaled connectedness. From its expanding tree canopy to its peaceful neighborhoods, to its multimodal transportation resources. Sammamish captures the best of the past, even as it embraces emerging digital future and the outdoor affordability to develop sustainable housing. It is a state-of-the-art community, engaged, responsive, and generous in its support for the full range of community benefits. So we're going to start with Josh for the first question, and it's kind of a three-part question. Do you support the language in the Sammamish vision statement? If not, what are your reasons for not supporting it? If so, how can you guide the city towards the Sammamish vision of meeting housing affordability through balance and sustainable housing?
So Sammamish is going to be in the process of updating the vision statement, and the city is getting ready to talk to folks about that. And this is a perfect time for people to get involved in that process. It would be hard not to support the language in the vision statement because it all sounds very good. Now, are we meeting the goals? Likely not. We've had a bunch of houses that have been built too big for lots, 4,000 or 5,000 square foot houses, and there's just no way those are going to be affordable. So on the Planning Commission, we have been working to right-size housing so that it no longer takes up so much of the lot, resulting in smaller housing sizes. When you have less square footage, you pay less for your property. I'm a big supporter of cottage housing. I think that both matches the character of Sammamish and would result in more affordable options for our seniors, empty nesters, and those who are starting out in life. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I did my best.
Before Amy starts, if there was anything you were unclear of, please let me know and I can reread the questions for you. Would everybody like me to do that? Okay. All right. Amy, go ahead.
I believe that's a really great statement. It's very visionary. I think it's very, I guess, it's missing a huge part of the future in terms of climate. You know, we don't have a climate action plan. We are the only city on the east side without a climate action plan. And we need to recognize that we are part of the global community and have that plan in our vision statement with regard to the environment. There isn't a statement in there about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that should also be a part of our vision as well. As respect to affordable housing, between the years of 1992 and 2017, this is according to ARCH, which is our partnership with organization that helps develop lower income housing. We have built 80 units, 80, in all these years. Issaquah has built 501. Redmond has built 1,677. So affordable housing is really important to us, and we are definitely falling short.
Question number 2, Amy will start. This is a shorter question. How do you see the role of a city council member? How do you see your role?
Is this still on? I would see my role on city council as just being effective, listening to what our residents want and translating that. I want to bring my lens of my lived experiences and my different professional background, because my background is in art and design, which is very different than everybody else's, and I actually think that's a positive. So I think that my role on city council would be to really emphasize to people, let's look at things through a different lens. You know, 40% of our population is people of color, and that means having that diversity voice really will help people see things differently.
So the city council operates like a board of directors. They appoint the mayor, the city council and mayor, then hire the city manager who acts as a CEO. I understand the limitations of the city council. We don't reach down to the staff level and tell them what to do. We set the budget, we set policy. Having said that, I've outlined a lot of things I'd like to accomplish on my website, from transportation to increasing senior and human services to improving public safety. I know that the only way that I can accomplish any of my goals is by working well with other people on the council, compromising, finding common ground, and maybe not taking all of what I want. That's part of legislating. I understand there's going to be limitations to what I can accomplish, and I think after listening to other people on the council and hearing public comment, we go forward and make the best decision we possibly can with the information we have. That's how I would operate on the city council.
Now we're going to go on to question number 3, and that will go to Nazir. What are your key ideas for how Sammamish can better support businesses?
I think the best thing that we can probably do for the businesses in Sammamish is diversify the commercial space owners. It would be my real joy to get rid of Regency centers. I have not heard one person who is happy with them. They are not a good partner for our businesses. They're not a good partner for Sammamish. And if we can diversify the ownership of our roughly 388,000 square feet of commercial space, that would benefit everybody. Through my small business, I own a marketing agency, and we help the city of Auburn through a buy local Auburn program. A lot of people don't know all the small businesses that are in our commercial space, and a simple marketing campaign, partnered maybe with the Chamber of Commerce, could help inform people that there are things they can buy local. I will never be supportive of adding a B&O tax into Sammamish. And one of the worst things that ever happened to small businesses is all the ideas that come out of Olympia. And I think having council members who can go and have conversations with our legislators and let them know that as a business owner or hearing from our business owners this idea is going to hurt them would be a good thing for our Sammamish businesses.
I think that definitely would have to reach out to the individual businesses, because you don't know how to support them if you don't ask. You know, how are their rent prices? You know, what are the other things that they need? We had, you know, the whole pandemic that happened. You know, were they struggling? How were they struggling? Did they need outdoor dining? You know, were there ways that as a city we could make that happen for them? We need to assist people that are new business owners that want to come to our city, navigate how do you know, get a permit? What are the permits that we need? I mean, I went through our website and I took a look at just the list, and I thought it was mind-boggling. I don't know how anybody navigates that, and having a single point person walk you through that, I think, would be a tremendous help. I think having like monthly roundtables for people that have businesses so that they can share ideas and learn from each other, I think would also be really productive and be helpful for the people that have businesses in the community.
The next question is regarding the Growth Management Act. The City Council spent over $10 million on studies and lawyers about the Growth Management Act. June 30th, the Growth Management Hearing Board stated Sammamish was non-compliant with the state mandate. July 1st, the Growth Management Hearing Board asked the governor to move ahead with sanctioning Sammamish for violating non-compliance. As a council, how will you work to remedy this problem?
In 2019, the people who won city council elections won them by a sizable margin on traffic and traffic concurrency. And the citizens made it pretty clear what they were looking for out of the council. The current issue with the GMA is the concurrency model that the city of Sammamish implemented. My understanding is that it is not related to the fact that they used V over C and a bunch of technical things. It was the order in which it was done. The city council is currently in the process of redoing that order to make sure that their traffic and concurrency standards are compliant. The city council represents the residents, not the state and not the GMA board. I understand why people are upset and concerned, and if people are that upset and concerned, then they have a chance this election cycle to elect a swath of new candidates who will reverse those decisions. But last election, the residents made it crystal clear by almost 70-30 that that was their point of view. And if I'm elected, I'm going to do my part to make sure that the wishes of the residents are followed. GMA isn't perfect, and it does need to be fixed. And sometimes that means that localities need to stand up and do so.
Our current city council has spent millions of your dollars in litigation. This is primarily a fight against the town center. They're saying that we need to adjust our concurrency to meet GMA. And so we've spent all of this money, and the GMA, like everybody says, is not perfect, but it has, you know, it has pushed a lot of the growth to the town center. And this is why we need the town center. We need it to make our city more livable and to get people out of cars, to have the restaurants and to have the shops that everyone desires. So I do believe that we have just spent way too much money fighting these lawsuits, and there's just a better use for these dollars.
Thank you. This is question number 5, and we'll start with Karen. Reports have been made that Sammamish has a lower traffic gridlock than other east side cities. Do you feel our traffic problems have more to do with our schools and less to do with commute traffic? What do you propose for our traffic issues?
On my website, I outlined a pretty comprehensive plan about how to get to work on the $500 million identified that was needed for the inside the draft transportation master plan. I talk about implementing a transportation benefit district, readjusting REAP funds, because infrastructure needs to be improved. We have roads built to county standards without sidewalks at all. Maybe one side doesn't have a sidewalk. If you're ever driving down Sahalee on a sunny day, you'll see parents and people jogging across the street, and it's extremely unsafe. Parents don't feel like their kids can walk to school, and by updating our sidewalks to city standards, or roads to city standards, we can reduce some of the school impact. But we will always be a city that commutes to work. The pandemic may change some things, but for the most part, things I think will likely go back to normal with people going to offices. We don't have central office space, so people will always have to go to work, and we have 25,000 people doing that every single day. That's not really going to change once we get back to normal. And you're running for city council for 4 years, not a snapshot in time, so we need to plan ahead. And on my website, I outline how we can actually do that and get some of these things done. We've talked about them for too long, and if I'm elected, I'm going to push to actually get some of these transportation projects completed.
I've lived in Sammamish for 26 years. We have been talking about traffic for 26 years. Oh, 22 actually, it's been incorporated. For 22 years. We cannot build our way out of this problem unless they build some magical road that takes us straight off the middle of the plateau. We can fix our roads when, you know, the ones that need to be fixed, but we can't widen every lane. We can't add lanes to every road. And I do believe there will be a new normal. If you look at any of the trends for people returning back to work, particularly large companies. Microsoft is one of our largest employers here. Their plans to return back to office is indefinite. And people now, employees now, don't want the same things that they did before. They want to spend more time at home. Hybrid work will be here to stay, I believe. And we don't need, and people won't be returning back to the office 5 days a week like they used to. Our traffic is nowhere near what it used to be. I was looking at the EIS, an impact statement that talked about how traffic now is 40% less than it used to be. And, you know, even if it does reach, thank you.
With the increase of extra meetings at the beginning of each council meeting, many feel there is a lack of transparency on the city council. Do you feel the council needs more transparency, and how can you create a more open dialogue with and to the public? With the increase of executive meetings, okay, do you feel the council needs more transparency, and how can you create it?
I'm a strong believer in transparency. Sunshine is the best disinfectant, especially in government. People, it's too easy to hide what is going on behind closed doors. Executive session is a critically important aspect of our local government because they need to be able to talk about legal issues without giving away strategy. I understand it's challenging with so many going on right now that they have a lot of these executive sessions before council meetings. I've heard arguments about moving them to the end, but then what happens is they could come back out of executive session, no one's watching anymore, and they do something, you know, that no one saw. I don't have a perfect answer for it, except, yeah, I don't have a great answer for how to handle more transparency with executive sessions. You need executive sessions. As far as transparency goes, I would be a very proactive communicator outside of things which I'd be, you know, legally prohibited from discussing. I think the question stems from the dislike of the fact that the council is challenging some legal aspects that people might be, you know, on the opposite side of. But anyway, there's my answer.
I do believe that there are some things that need to be closed door on city council. However, when we talk about transparency, transparency at its heart is really the residents wanting to know what's going on in city council and what's happening with our city and all the different projects that they're doing. You know, they put all their information on the website, and it is up to us to review all this content. And so there's a lot of information there. They put all their plans on there. There's their urban forest management plan, the master transportation plan, the budgets. There's environmental impact statements, the comprehensive plans. Some of those are like hundreds of pages. You know, I think that that is all just data dumping. We don't have time to go through all of that data and figure things out. We want to know in easily understandable, digestible pieces of information to know what's going on in our city. There's such a thing called a strategic plan that all companies have. You set 5 goals. Those are your 5 goals, or however many, for short-term and long-term, and you work to get those goals done. And so if we had something similar to for our city, everybody would know what those goals are, how we're going to accomplish it, what are our timelines. And so, you know, I do believe, thank you.
This is question number 7, and Amy, you'll be the first one on this one. Knowing that the city of Sammamish is 40% people of color, do you believe that the city council has done enough to make the demographic feel included as part of the community?
Well, I think the city has done a good first step. They have a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement, which I believe they, in principle, put out maybe a year ago. But I do feel that they are lacking in many aspects. True diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm going to call it DEI for short, is a lens that you look through, and it needs to permeate throughout the entire city. You know, we need to take a look at how do we hire our city staff. We don't have, another thing that we don't have is a diversity, a DEI section on our website. So if you were a person of color, you were to look at our website and you would feel like you weren't prioritized. We don't talk about accessibility. You know, what are we doing with our buildings in terms of accessibility? Do we have on our website for people who have English as a second language? Do we offer interpretive services? So there are many areas that it can improve upon, but I do think having the diversity and equity statement, which they did put out recently, I think that is a good first step.
It's my understanding that over the last couple of years, the city staff has gotten a little bit more diverse. But the answer to the question is it enough? No, and that answer applies to any organization or government. This is a continual process improvement. You should never stop attempting to reach that goal. So the answer is, have we done enough? The answer will always be no. We should always be striving to do better and achieve better representation and more diversity.
I'm going to make a executive decision here, and the next question, we're going to give you 60 seconds to answer. Okay? That way we can get done with, we can get in one more question and then have enough time for you guys to have your closing statement. So here's the 60-second. I'm throwing a loop at you, Lisa. What are your top 3 budget concerns or priorities?
We do have a budget challenge. Back in 2002, I think it was, Governor Gary Locke implemented what was called the priorities of government approach. And what he did is he prioritized government spending. And I think before we ask taxpayers to spend a dime more in property taxes, we need to make sure it's crystal clear that we have prioritized government spending. Local government exists to fund basic government services. That should be at the top, followed by everything else. The other 2 items, so prioritize government spending. Transportation funding, I think, again, we need to bond out our transportation projects so that we can actually get some of these things done. And I think we need to increase the amount of money going to human services. On my website, I talk about implementing or copying Mercer Island's thrift shop, which brought in $1.6 million gross, $930,000 in net revenue that they put directly into human services funding. I think Sammamish can do the same thing.
I echo Karen Howe's statement regarding revenue. We just don't have enough of it. You know, most of our revenue comes from property tax. Does anybody want to pay more property tax? You know, there's a limit to that. We need more business. We need business to drive some of the revenue. You know, we have what's termed retail leakage, which is people leaving the city to go shopping elsewhere. 80% of the people in Sammamish shop outside. They spend less than half of what they can outside of the city. So, and the leakage is about $200 million. You know, if we can keep $200 million in our city, you know, that would be huge. $200 million in sales tax, you know, would be, you know, just, it would provide so many more services that our city desperately needs.
If you are not elected, how will you continue to be involved with Sammamish and keeping in touch with the needs of the community?
I would continue to serve out my term on the Planning Commission, and I would continue to serve with the Sammamish Rotary. Right now I'm the Community Service Chair, Rotary does a lot in the community. I've really enjoyed my time getting to know the people there and getting to know people in the community through Rotary, and I think everyone here might want to look at joining. In fact, this November we'll have a Christmas tree lot at Pine Lake Park, and all the proceeds we raise from that will be going back into the community in the form of grants and scholarships for local high schoolers. So please check us out there. So I'll look for other opportunities, but I'll probably dive deeper into the Rotary Club, because we, I think, have been very impactful.
This is a really relevant question. I was actually thinking about that this morning. What would I do? One of the things that was most missing in my life as I was growing up was a mentor. I wish I had a personal mentor, and as I started working, I wish I had a professional career mentor, somebody to help me navigate some of the large issues that were going on, either personally or making decisions that would be helpful professionally. I think there's a lot of pressure on young girls these days with social media and just everything, the pressures of what to do, you know, college or whatever that may be. And I think that having an organization here in Sammamish that mentors young women would be a huge benefit to moms and women, because we all have to make really difficult decisions as we grow up, and having somebody to lean on would be just so rewarding. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you Sammamish Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. As I've mentioned, since our city has been incorporated 22 years ago, we've been talking about traffic, and we've been talking about development issues, and we will continue to be talking about those issues. But we can't lose sight that true sustainability is about the future, and it's about the generations that are ahead of us. And my vision for Sammamish includes more affordable housing. It includes the climate action plan. And something I actually didn't talk about this evening is bringing in municipal broadband, because I think that will improve our economy, and it'll give everybody choice, and it'll set us up for a technological future. I think together, you know, we can make this happen. And I hope to meet you when I'm out door to door knocking. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming out tonight. I hope you were able to learn more about the vision I have for Sammamish. I'm running to stop the unsustainable growth and overdevelopment we've seen for far too long, to get to work building our roads and improving pedestrian and bike safety, to increase human services by creative but tested funding mechanisms to provide services we need to kids, teens, and seniors, and to focus on public safety. We must ensure our police are fully funded to be proactive against crime and keep Sammamish one of the safest cities in America. We must also make preparations for natural disasters and forest fires. And my focus on this is an endorsement of our Eastside firefighters. I know the only way to accomplish these goals is by listening to fellow council members, working together where we agree, and finding compromise where we do not. If your question wasn't answered tonight, my personal cell phone number and email is on my pamphlet at the table, and I hope you'll reach out to me. My name is Josh Amato, and if you agree with my vision for Sammamish, I ask for your vote by November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates.